Okay, call this meeting to order. It is 11 o'clock and we're here to discuss the cost of living adjustment. It's Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. Okay, so I brought I brought this to, we're supposed to come up with a figure for our budget. Now this figure is not written in stone. This figure is to set the budget and go forward. So it could go down, it could go to zero, it could stay the same. So basically what we're doing is we're just setting a mark, just like we did with the insurance the other day. They said the insurance was going to go up between 2 and 8%. So we hit high. So that's what we're going to do here today, and we're going to discuss it. Have you looked at Madam Clerk, have you looked at the Percy requirements and anything like that? Is anybody? What Percy's?
I'm not going to answer that because I do feel like there was something and I sent it off to Tammy, but I'm not 100% sure what it was.
Okay,
I'll
so
look into it.
The cost of living this year for Social Security is 2.5.
So the cost Percy is at 1%.
Percy's at 1%. Yep.
We actually kind of were looking at that yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the Idaho State, I looked and it was 4%. So we need to make a decision on where we're going to start the budget at. Do we have any discussion on the matter?
As in, like a cost of living projection?
Cost of living projection. That's just a projection. That's all it is. It's just to start the budget so that all the departments can start out with this, just like they're starting out with the insurance.
Something to work with.
Something to work with. Yep. And then it depends on our revenue. When we get our revenue figures, how far are we in completing the audit on the revenue?
From Tony or from
Tony.
well, he emailed today with 62 more questions.
Okay.
Isn't that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little ways out?
He's definitely winding down, but I can't give you an answer on how far.
So as soon as we get that figure of last year's, to make sure that last year's projections were correct and how much we were off or how much we were on, then we can figure out this year's to be safe. So we're going to need that. So as soon as he can do that, but right now let's go ahead and talk about the cost of living. What do you guys think?
So what did we land on last year?
I think 3%. And last year we had a 5.9 increase in our insurance, and the county covered it. That's one of the other things we haven't done as a board is we haven't put this on the employees. We've taken it, and that's like I said. We put dental in there, so I think we could have took. So it's going to be less than $187,000, but that's what the county would have to come up with for all the employees if we weren't going to charge any of the employees, and we haven't been doing that. Each year the county's been paying it. The 9% we paid over 150 or 130 something like that thousand that year last year. So it's we could do it two ways. We can give a cost of living. We could have gave a cost of living and then taken it back through insurance. And that's what's happened with Social Security. Social Security gave out a big raise and then they took it back with Medicare. So, but let's go ahead and just discuss the cost of living.
Would it be fair to ask if we could hear from, rather than discussing and then voting and then hearing from the folks, could we hear some ideas from some of the other folks in the room?
Okay.
Also,
Madam Clerk?
I want to interject that also our state insurance fund will be rising significantly. However, we won't know those numbers until end of August. But I'm going to try and hound them a little bit.
Okay.
See if we can get that mod number. So, state insurance fund and don't quote me, it's either they run on a 4 or 5 year plan, continual, whatever it is, if it's 4 years or 5 years, our least is dropping off and we're picking up a really higher rate year now.
Mhm.
So that's what's determining that. But they don't know how much, and they couldn't even guesstimate.
Okay.
So, excuse me, but with that, with the insurance, with losing the SRS money, should we even be talking about the 3%?
You know, I think it's fair that
goes, I don't.
I think it's fair that we put something in there, because if by chance our revenue's up, we still have that cushion there. If we don't have it there, we won't get nothing. That's what I'm saying is if we just put something in there, this is just for projection, and that's all it is. It's just a projection. So we're not making any decisions today that, okay, everybody's going to get a cost of living raise. This is just a projection so that you guys can go through your budgets. And then when we come down to when we figure out where we're at with revenue and what we're looking at next year, then we can make that final decision. And if we have to, if we can do it, we can do it. If we can't, we can't. So this is just a projection today.
I know for us, we do, when we're doing our worksheets, we always do like a 3%, 2%, 1, and 0, and we just have it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Okay.
just a worksheet. It just depends on what you put in, and it just automatically calculates everything.
Okay.
And Lord, do you want that from us? Or is that something you guys can input like that?
We have a spreadsheet similar probably to what you have, that we do the same thing.
But if we change it several times, is that a lot of work?
That is a ton of work, yeah. We'd like to.
I mean, I could definitely set it up where I could do like Holly was just saying and have, I
columns.
got a 3%, I got a 1%, I got
Right.
a nothing, whatever.
Well, we just have it, so we have numbers to work with, so then when it's decided, we just give over whatever
Yeah.
Right.
percentage we
Mhm.
agreed on.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions or? No?
So there was no cost of living last year, right?
No,
Right.
Yeah.
we couldn't afford it.
Okay.
No, but we brought back Viva last year. Am I correct? Viva, and we paid the county paid the extra 5.9%.
We just continued to even.
Right.
Or
Mhm.
continued it. Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
continued it. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
We reduced it
Was it
the year before. It was reduced.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we looking at 3%? We're looking at, what are we looking at?
I'd like to suggest 3% as a starting point for
point.
discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good starting point.
Okay.
Usually the average starting point.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Madam Prosecutor?
Obviously, everyone knows the cost of living is getting cheaper
I
regardless of
know.
where we go.
I wish we had the revenue to do whatever we wanted, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course, when we're looking at vacancies in various offices, the COLA contributes to whether or not we can fill those vacancies. The higher costs are outside the office, the harder it is to get people in the office. So, we're going to be in support of an increase in people's pay so that we can get people through the door that are worthwhile and serve the people of the community.
Commissioner Callis, do you have anything
I think the 3%
as a
is
starting point?
is
Okay,
a good starting point.
okay.
I would have to agree.
I think with Social Security coming in at 2.5,
Mm-hmm.
3 makes a logical start.
Yeah.
I just, you said it twice. We just need to make sure our folks aren't counting on
Mhm.
it, because every time we turn around in the last week, it seems like literally another 10 or 20 or $100,000 for insurance or for this or for that, or Jessica messed up and we lost, the SRS
Yeah,
fund.
good job.
Way to go.
Not taking the blame for that.
I am just teasing for the public. I'm just teasing. It was not Jessica's fault. The federal government cutbacks there. I think it's just going to be imperative on you as leaders to make sure your folks understand we're doing the best we can, but we are seeing increases in expenses everywhere, and we're not seeing increases in funding.
No.
The opposite.
Yes.
Yeah, we're seeing the funding shrink. So this is not going to be. This won't be as much fun as handing out extra money.
I did have a question about the COLA, and I don't know if you can answer that at this point. With the knowledge of the SRS, my revenue, being in jeopardy, and that kind of trickles down to the general fund, and it has an effect on everybody. If the other revenues were up, let's say for going into the general fund and other departments, is it a possibility, because I'm looking to address, I will be addressing my employees just to kind of let them know how this meeting went and that this is the goal, but obviously there are a lot of things that need to fall into place first, and it could go down, unfortunately to nothing. If there's no money to pay it, there's no money to pay it. If the COLAs, if you guys decide that the COLAs happen, are the COLAs going to be applied to all of the departments, or is there a possibility that some departments get COLAs and like I'm just using mine for an example because I know right now, unless they pass the legislation for SRS, mine will be short. So just because that is a question that was brought to me by some of my employees, and I'm just looking for an accurate answer to give them.
And it'll probably affect everybody.
Okay.
Because of the fact that, we count on in the general fund for over 200,000, I think. And also in, that's the administrative fee.
Yeah, it's
So
actually
we count on
300,000.
300, yeah, that's over 300,000. So we count on that in the general fund. So, and the general fund covers the prosecutor's office, the assessor's office. You guys are kind of out on your own, which is good. You guys are doing well. Yeah, self-sufficient. So we'll just have to go from there.
Well, last year, one of the reasons we didn't have a cost of living is because the clerk had a plan and increased some pay to catch up some things. This year, I would like to go on record saying I would like to be targeting that we're doing it across the board, whether it's 1%, 2%, 3%, that it would be across the board, as opposed to what we did last year.
Okay. All right, well, I would entertain a motion.
Commissioner Dose and I both always look at each other. I will make a motion that the cost of living adjustment possible increase, or the set is 3% for now, the projected.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. If there's no further questions, any further questions? We're all in here? Oh, okay. Meeting adjourned. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you.